The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi there, everyone. Thanks for joining. Everyone that's logged on so far, I'm just going to give it about 60 seconds. Just give a few late starters to join us, and then we'll kick on straight away. Thank you. A few more people just adding now. Let me just give it a few more seconds.
Thanks, Mario.
Okay, I think we've got a good few on now live and listening. So look, just like to thank you all for joining us now during your probably most of your lunch hour. I know lunch hours are very valuable these days, so we really appreciate your time. This is the first of Hybrid Technology Partners Lunch and Learn series. So really the point of this is to try and bring you guys a quick lunch hour session where we kind of give you a demo rather than kind of bombarding you with a lot of data and technical jargon. We want to kind of give you a demo of some of the solutions, technologies out there that some of you guys might want to consider using in the future. So look, just to give you an outline on who's going to be on today, myself, I'm the account manager on the IT support side of things here at Hybrid. Paul Brown, who's our MD, will be joining us in a session, and in a second I'll get Paul to give an overview on the company, and then Adam Sally from Datto, one of the partners we work with. He's a senior product specialist, so Adam's a great guy. He's going to give you all a run through and show you what a ransomware attack looks like and how it can be recovered using the solution. This session will be recorded as well, so if anybody likes what they hear or wants to share it with somebody else within your team, maybe they want to have a look at part of it, please reach out to us at the end, and we'll be happy to share that. Also, obviously, if anybody feels that the solution or anything we discuss could be useful for you guys, myself and Paul are happy to kind of run an individual workshop with anyone where we can kind of go through your individual requirements, and we'll take that offline. So look, with that being said, I'll just pass over to Paul there for a moment just to introduce. Paul's our MD, one of the founders of the company. So Paul, if you just kind of want to lead on, just kind of to talk through the 4 pillars of the business, and then we'll maybe bring Adam in there in a moment.
Perfect, Mario. Thanks for that. So folks, just to give you a small background on Hybrid Technology Partners for those of you that are potentially new to us as an organization, we have 4 streams of business. We are involved in ERP implementations, setups and support. Around 2 ERP systems, Priority Software and Herbst Insight. We have a software development arm of the business as well, where we do a lot of bespoke software development. I'm an actual software developer by trade myself. We have an IT consultancy arm of the business where we would do a lot of ISO 27001, which is the data security standard, do implementations and audits around that, placements on sites and tender management. And I suppose where this seminar will come in today would be around the proactive enterprise managed IT support that we offer to our clients as well. And again, it's all around being able to act as someone's help desk, but also be part of the overall business and understand that everything we do across the 4 pillars of business has to bring a return on investment to the company, to the client themselves. And I suppose like we have a longiness around technology, and we have a love of technology, but more so we actually have a love of seeing how technology can improve how people operate on a day-to-day basis. And like one of the things we often say to existing clients and prospecting clients is that we do our best to give people back their time. If we can, time is one thing that people can't buy back, and if we can give people back their time, they'll be interested in a potential solution. So, and our tagline, of course, is technology experts in streamlining business, and that's fundamentally what we do. And we love seeing things, an idea that we put forward, come to life within the organization. So that's us, I suppose, in a nutshell. I'll hand you back to Mario now, just to kind of do a quick introduction to Adam.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul, very much. So yeah, look, as Paul mentioned, look, I look after the IT support side, and we try to be as proactive as possible. Obviously, we have a help desk. You can raise tickets, and our aim is to answer every call first time, every time. Beyond that, obviously, we try to move away from a break-fix mentality. And one of the areas where our customers have reached out to us is they've basically tried to utilize their backups that they may have in place, and they've done test restores. And a lot of the time, the solution that they have in place hasn't really met their expectations. So look, we've looked at that. We obviously looked at the solutions out there, and we know the marketplace, the SME marketplace, which is the core of our business, is very cost conscious. So the Datto solution is one that we look at, that we feel is one that is very beneficial and a really good return on investment. So if you don't know Datto, they're actually the world's leading cloud-based software and security provider. So look, the background is there, the proven ability to deliver the technology is there, and that's something we stand behind. They actually have over 1 million businesses that they're serving already. So look, with that being said, I'd like to hand you over to Adam, who's the senior product specialist, and look, Adam will give you a more in-depth understanding of Datto, and he can go ahead and show you the solution.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mary. Can you hear me all right?
You can do,
yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Shame you can't see me. Apologies all. We're having some slight technical difficulties. We have a pretty incredible team of IT solutions engineers working on this as we speak at the Hybrid Technology Partner offices. One quick thing to add, if you've got any questions through the session, everybody, please inundate the chat. Myself, Paul, Mario, a couple of other members of the team are all sitting here raring to go and answer your questions as we go through. So that's me. For all of you that are really worried about not seeing my beautiful pearly whites, that's me in a nutshell. My name's Adam Sally. I look after the unified continuity portfolio for Datto for the EMEA region, and spend a lot of time. Rephrase that. Spent a lot of time in Ireland, drinking a lot of wonderful black liquid, and working with partners like the team at Hybrid. To service the needs of organisations just like yours. And today we're going to be primarily talking about Datto SaaS Protection. So Datto software as a service protection platform. It's a mitigation platform against you losing access to your data. It's a platform to protect your business if the worst were to occur. So first and foremost, we're going to be looking at what's happening to SaaS data. What do we mean when we talk about SaaS data? And hang on, Adam, the cloud is this mythical unicorn in the sky. Why the hell do I need platforms to protect that? Well, let's have a look at some of the realities of these preconceptions and, I suppose, misconceptions. Is your data vulnerable? And to what end? What's threatening the integrity and protection of your data today? Why we need to back that up, and what the vendors of these platforms themselves say, and then where does the responsibility lie? And I'll chuck in a bit of a ransomware infection and recovery for good measure into that as well, and then we'll have a bit of a recap at the end, and then answer all of the questions. So hopefully that covers everybody's sort of expectations for this session. So the evolution of SaaS data. Where does your critical data live? Now, the reality is, when we start looking at a map like this was yesterday. Yesterday, everything was sitting on spinning disks in server infrastructure, sitting in the corner of the office. And I spent 6 years at one of the big IT vendors selling said infrastructure. And it was the be all and end all, the fastest speeds, the quickest sort of application performance, this, that, and the other. And it was within the control of the organization to protect that from someone upstairs leaving the tap on, or the hard drive failing and having that level of redundancy. Back then, the threats faced by organizations by what we call sort of cyber terrorism now, it wasn't really there. It certainly wasn't at the forefront of the mind to the extent that it is today, when you see all across the news, the NHS, 175,000 devices brought to a halt by a WannaCry virus with links to the Chinese government, or new worm type ransomwares that can jump across networks and infect not only the individual who clicked on the stupid thing in the first place, but also every single other machine on the network, and what sort of impact that would have on your organization. So today, data doesn't just sit on traditional servers. Data is spread across multiple different platforms in multiple different geographic locations, used by individuals with different levels of technological sophistication and understanding of what they're looking out for in terms of these threatening attacks on your business. Because in the most part, these types of cyber attacks come at the end of the day on Friday to Jamie in accounting, who's got no inclination of what to look for when it comes to sussing out whether or not it's actually an email from the CEO asking him to transfer 2 million euros to this address, or it's a cyber criminal spoofing that email address and just trying to interact with Jamie to the point that he believes it's his CEO and subsequently deploys payloads, this, that, and the other. So what we're trying to do is ensure that not only front of mind is educating your team, your users, this and the other, but also you've got the platforms in the background to protect your business in situations where the worst does occur. And then obviously advocating 100% that you lean on the expertise of the team at Hybrid to go through the motions and ensure that you're protected to the best you can be. So migrations to the cloud are moving faster than they ever have been before. The market is growing exponentially. About 6 months ago, statistically, it was sitting at about 98% of global organizations were using some form of software as a service-based application. And it makes sense, right? Everything going that way. We're buying our cars on a monthly subscription model. So why would we not buy our IT applications in the same way? It significantly reduces the total cost of ownership of holding, managing, utilizing those platforms. You don't have the headache of things going wrong and breaking. That's the responsibility of the provider. And actually, the pandemic recently has seen a significant impact on that acceleration. With 4 months last year, seeing not far off 900% growth in Microsoft Teams adoption. Now, that's awesome for Microsoft, but what does that mean to you and to your business? Well, unfortunately, the reality is what that means is the cyber criminals who historically were writing bespoke lines of malicious code to attack specific operating systems on specific platforms in your office have now got an opportunity to write one line of code targeting one platform, Microsoft 365 or Google Workplace, or whatever that might be, and subsequently hit 56% of 98% of the global economy. So the risks are increasing exponentially. And unfortunately, the reality is that SaaS data is vulnerable. SaaS data is no less vulnerable than data sitting on the server in the corner of the office or the laptop in front of you. And actually, statistically, Gartner believes that 70% of organizations will have suffered some sort of serious disruption as a result of lost data from SaaS-based applications. So unfortunately, I have to tell you, the reality is the cloud is not some mythical unicorn in the sky. It is just someone else's data center holding your data, and the vulnerabilities to that data remain 100%. And it's not just cyber attacks. Unfortunately, the reality is we as a human race are not getting any smarter. We make mistakes. 90% in 2018 of data loss came from human error. People make mistakes. However, in terms of a percentage, that is now decreasing as that cybercrime sort of problem increases. And as a result of that, unfortunately, not all businesses make it. For those of you that are frequent flyers and love a getaway, Travelex, the foreign exchange company, a couple of years ago were hit by ransomware. And unfortunately, it just comes down to a matter of cash flow. Can you afford to continue to pay your employees and your financial commitments for a period of time that you cannot charge your customers for services or products you're not delivering? That is the simple maths of it. And unfortunately, if one elongates itself to the point that you use all of your available cash, there's nothing you can do bar shut shop. And Travelex were forced to do that as a result of a ransomware attack a couple of years ago. So when we start looking at the costs associated with downtime, something that Datto is very, very sort of prolific at talking about, i.e. the period of time between losing access to critical systems and recovery, and data loss. Obviously, everybody's in the news all the time about so-and-so has been hacked and lost customer data and account details and addresses and names and bank cards, this, that, and the other. Actually, the costs aren't a million miles away from each other. Historically, the impact on a business of losing customer data was the biggest risk to that business, and therefore they employed backup. They employed a mechanism to back that data up. Now, what we're doing is looking at a business and thinking, well, hang on, the critical data is no longer sitting on those spinning disks in the corner of the office. It's on those disks in the corner of the office. It's in that 13 different cloud platforms. And actually, Adam's got a load of critical data on a machine that's sat in his bedroom. Now, how am I going to protect all of these different situations? It's very, very complex and very difficult to do. And this is why we've got expertise like the team at Hybrid to help organizations with this. So data loss is expensive for a business because compliance and GDPR and all of these scary legal implications say that you're going to end up in a lot of trouble and probably losing a lot of money if you lose data. Losing data usually results in losing productivity as well, unfortunately. And to my point previously, in a situation where an organization's got 50 members of staff, average salary is 35,000 euros per year, 2 million turnover organization, one period of, let's say, 9 hours of non-productivity is going to cost that business upward of 20,000 euros. So one instance of losing access to systems or data is going to cost a business a significant volume of money. Now, if you're looking at protection holistically for your business, work with the team at Hybrid and they'll look at the different sort of solutions to protect your data in the different areas that they are in. So why do you need to protect SaaS-based applications? Software as a service-based applications, specifically Microsoft 365 and Google Workplace we're talking about today, because the assumption is probably that, well, Microsoft are responsible for that, no? Or Google are responsible. Unfortunately, the reality is that, yeah, they are responsible. They're responsible for the platform. They're responsible for mitigation against natural disasters or power outages. What they clearly state in their end user license agreements is they hold no responsibility for the integrity and protection of the data held within those platforms. The data is solely the responsibility of the organization who own it. Unfortunately, that's yourselves. And what they stipulate in varying different ways and phrases is that the cloud is not a mythical unicorn in the sky, and all online services suffer occasional disruptions and outages. Microsoft themselves have suffered 5 quite substantial outages in the last 6 months. As a result, to ensure that you've got regular access to said data, you should employ a third-party backup solution or application to protect said data in a situation where you lose access to it. Secondly, Adam has been sending emails to organizations that he shouldn't. Adam then catches wind that Datto is letting Adam go as a result. The first thing I'm going to do is go into my Exchange and delete all of the emails that incriminate me that they believe I've been sending. Now, in a situation where I've done that and 30 days passes, those emails have gone forever. In a situation where an organization is compelled by compliance and regulatory stipulations to retain that data for longer than 30 days, which is almost everybody, unfortunately, the basis that that was deleted and no one picked up on that within 30 days, that's never going to be accessible again. And this is something that a lot of organizations are not aware of. The liability and breaches of compliance are so easily done within an organization that doesn't have more than the native services within these platforms. Google Workplace, for those of you that are using it, offer similar wording within their end user license agreement. So how can we protect this? Well, Datto SaaS Protection is a really good way of protecting it. It's one of the only solutions on the market that offers an all-encompassing solution to protecting every single facet within Microsoft 365 or Google Workplace. So within Microsoft, you're talking about Exchange, OneDrive, calendars, contacts, SharePoint, and Teams. Within Google, you're talking about the equivalent, as I'm sure you can imagine. And essentially, the way it works is it talks directly from Datto's cloud, an exabyte 9 data center-based cloud infrastructure spread across 7 countries, to Microsoft's cloud or Google's cloud. And I'm doing a lot of waving around with my hands, completely aware that you can't see me, but nonetheless, and actually pulls incremental snapshots of all of your data 3 times a day and stores it there for either a year or forever. It's as simple as that. From a compliance standpoint, it's so simple to ensure that your organization is protected. So what that then looks like is the team at Hybrid sitting down with you and saying, right, how much data have you got? How long do you need to retain that for? Okay, this is your option. It's as simple as that. And then it's a mechanism of sort of half an hour, input some of the specifics about your domain, your credentials, and that will just start backing up your business. So what that then gives you is peace of mind. It ensures that in a situation where Adam leaves the business and goes and destroys a shed load of his data, after having contractual conversations with suppliers, with stakeholders, with lawyers, whoever that might be, that data can be retained. It can prevent the loss of data from deprovisioned users. And in a situation where your organization succumbs to a ransomware attack, be that locally on a machine or in the cloud, you've got the ability to get that critical data back. So let's have a look at what that actually looks like. So excuse my jumping around. Let me just drag that one over there and pop this one up. Paul, Mario, can you see that all right? Brilliant. I've got some nods. I can see you nodding.
Perfect. I can see Adam, yeah. Thank you.
Brilliant. This is a machine. This machine is owned by a gentleman called Walter Richards. Walter Richards works for a company called Richmond Gardens. They're a garden maintenance company that look after the gardens in Richmond, would you believe? And they're a long-standing customer of Hybrid Technology Partners. And actually, Walter has a meeting with the team at Hybrid today. He's actually got a meeting with Paul after this session to talk about his business aspirations for the coming 12 months, and actually how they're utilizing digital transformation to increase the profitability of their organization by leveraging SaaS-based applications and moving away from some of that historic on-prem to try and increase their team's productivity. So Walter's about to jump on the train, and as he's doing that, be it the end of the day and meeting Paul in the pub actually, as he's doing that and rushing to get out of the office, he gets an email from the CTO of his organization saying, I need you to crunch these numbers as soon as you possibly can before the week's out. Now, what this sort of social engineering type activity is doing is it's creating urgency from someone more senior within the organization, which makes people panic. It makes people not address exactly what the situation is and delve any deeper than what is in front of him on face value. He doesn't open the email address or the from and to section within the email and check that it's not, gobbledygook at gobbledygook.gobbledygook from some malicious organization. It just says James CTO. So he's going to open this purchasing and billing document. And he opens it, and it opens, and there you go. There's all of the documentation. He's going through and thinking, this has got absolutely no relevance to anything I do within my day job. I have no idea why this has been sent to me. So he just closes it and goes about his business. And then bizarrely, all of the documentation within his My Documents folder, including this critical presentation that he needs to present to Paul in the next hour in the pub, has turned white. The extensions have changed to .ecc. Now, Walter is not an IT expert. this looks problematic. Now, what Walter's done unsuspectingly is actually taken this fairly innocent looking document, which isn't actually an Excel, it's spoofed to look like one, and he's actually executed an application. This application has been delivered maliciously and is now cascading through the back end of Walter's system. And subsequently, it's actually infected all of his documents. Now, Walter's documents are also synced with Walter's OneDrive. Walter's OneDrive is part of Walter's organization's Microsoft 365 account. And therefore, what you can see here is it's cascading through and syncing that ransomware infection with every single piece of documentation Walter is associated with within his Microsoft 365 account. So if I jump into Walter's Microsoft 365 account and open up his OneDrive and then jump into Walter's documents, so even that online copy that he was hoping to utilize to be able to show that presentation to Paul in the pub in an hour is now encrypted. He can't access any of his data. This is a problem. Now, in this situation, actually, you do have the ability to a certain extent, recover everything. But it will take hours or days, and it'd be very clunky. And actually, without the right expertise, I wouldn't know how to do it. I've been in the industry for 12 years, and I wouldn't have a clue where to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Mario at Hybrid Technology Partners. I say, Mario, I've clicked on something that perhaps I shouldn't have, and this looks very scary. Actually, it's talking about Bitcoin, about $45,000 a coin. I've got to pay loads of them to this address. Otherwise, in 3 days, I'm going to lose my house, my wife, and my dog. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into Datto SaaS Protection. And I can actually jump into OneDrive. And I can jump down to Walter Richards. And I can jump into Walter's documents. And I can see that here is that hybrid technology partner planning presentation. Now, I just need to get that document first and foremost back to Walter so he can present it to Paul. And I can restore that and click restore. And then moments later, what I can do is I can actually jump back into OneDrive and there is restore. I can click into that, OneDrive, Walter's documents, bang, there's my presentation back almost immediately. Now, that's the urgent component. Within Datto SaaS Protection, on the basis that it talks directly to Microsoft's cloud from the Datto cloud. When it comes to talking about how quickly we can get documentation back, you look at something like 703 megabytes, which would have been Walter Richards' entire user base. It took 2 minutes and 27 seconds. So in terms of rebuilding systems and recovering data, yeah, you can back up to a hard drive. You can take that hard drive down to big yellow storage an hour away, and you can rely on that. In 3 days' time, you might have a copy of your data back. If you're using cloud-based applications, you can log tickets with Microsoft and try and recover data that they may still have. But unfortunately, the reality is it's fairly unlikely. Now, what's pretty awesome about the technology that the team at Hybrid use to recover data from wherever that data lives, be that in the cloud, on local appliances, or end user machines, there's something for everything. So actually, all the while, Mario said, there you go and present your presentation. It's on your phone, it's on your wife's laptop, whatever that might be. Actually, Mario's now logging into the Datto portal and recovering the entire server in a temporary state. And actually, now, when Walter comes into the office on Monday, the whole business doesn't even know that the business is being attacked. They're running on what's called the Datto Cirrus appliance in a temporary state. And then the following Friday, the team at Hybrid get to site and they say, right, we need to rebuild your servers. And they said, what are you talking about? We've been running all week. And yeah, that's the beauty of having what's called business continuity. Now, if that's something that you're interested in having a conversation about, reach out to Mario, reach out to Paul, and they will give you a really good overview of how they can protect your business, not just from a specificity standpoint in terms of protecting cloud data, but holistically, irrespective of what data is where and what's critical and what's not. So let me jump back into my presentation. What are your options? I'm not going to lie to you. Leveraging a platform like this is not your only option. Statistically, just over a third of organizations don't pay any attention to people like me. So they go on and then unfortunately fall victim to situations that I've covered. You do have the ability to work with the limited native features within platforms like this. As I've said before, if something's deleted accidentally, you do have a level of recycling bin within Microsoft 365. It will usually give you about 30 days. That being said, if a user is deprovisioned because they've left the organization and frankly you don't want to pay for their license anymore, that data is gone almost immediately. So it really depends the extent to which your organization values data and or is compelled by compliance to retain data for specific periods of time. Or you can regain control by leveraging platforms that ensure you've got mechanisms to mitigate against the costs and risks and reputational impact of losing customer data or productivity. So in terms of just a few takeaways from this session, unfortunately, data sitting in the cloud is not protected by sunshine and rainbows. It is as susceptible to the risks and threats facing data locally on endpoint machines, on your grandmother's mobile phone from 1997. It's as vulnerable as all other data. The risks to data are here and growing. We're seeing about 5,000 new strains of ransomware being deployed every single day. So let's hope that the pandemic doesn't get to that extent as well, because otherwise we'll be in as much mess as we are from an IT standpoint. SaaS protection in any form is no longer an option. The vendors themselves of these SaaS-based application platforms are saying that this is a must. You need this to be protected. And it's not just the back-end protection either. Talk to the team at Hybrid about front-end protection, mail filtering, threat detection, antivirus of all of your platforms, because you need that combined approach. And then obviously speak with the team about what is best fit for your business based on your specific needs. We, the royal we, Datto, Hybrid, all of the other vendors that work in the sort of ecosystem of managed service technology that Datto find themselves in, want to protect your data and your business holistically. So let's find a solution that works for your business specifically going forward. And that, after a machine gun of verbal coming at you, is all I was planning on covering. And I do once again apologise for not being able to talk to you face to face. I do a lot of these sessions, and it's actually almost more disconcerting not being able to see my face, but nonetheless. So, questions, Paul, Mario, anything I haven't covered?
No, I thought that was very thorough. Thanks very much, Adam. It was a shock. That's the second time I've seen a presentation like that, and I know first time I've seen it, I was shocked, and I can see not one of the audience has dropped off during that, so everyone can kind of see it's really engaging, and I think it's surprising to think everyone thinks everything's backed up, and because you do a backup once a day, you can get it restored very easily. The reality is quite different, and I think that's the awakening that people kind of need sometimes, because if you're not aware of that, then sometimes it can just be too late and can be very costly, right? So I think you've made that clear today.
I think as well, Mario and Adam, I think the crucial thing to take away from this is that this does happen on a day-to-day basis with companies out there, and they do their best to recover, and they don't wave it around that they have been infected because it's bad for business. Yeah. So don't be under any illusion that it's not happening. It very much is happening, and it is happening on a day-to-day basis. And it's unfortunately during the COVID pandemic, it got worse because it was able to play on people's fears that they were working from home, that they were somewhat disconnected. And a lot of these emails that were being received, like the one that Walter received, was playing on these fears of urgency and having something done quickly.
Yeah, 100%. I think to your point, Paul, a lot of organisations live by the mindset of it will never happen to me, because the only organisations it happens to are big corporate businesses, BA, HSBC, this, that and the other. And that, unfortunately, the reality is they're compelled to make this public when things like this do happen, because they're public companies. So the smaller organisations have no compulsion or sort of requirement to publicise the fact that they've experienced an impact like this. And when you look at both the microeconomic impact, the internal, I've got to pay my team, I can't charge my customers, that's only scratching the surface. That's the top of the iceberg. When you start taking into consideration the macroeconomic impact, i.e. prosecution for breaches of GDPR, public relations nightmares. As an example, Garmin last year were hit by ransomware and experienced almost an 8-week outage in terms of they were on and off and on and off rebuilding systems, and actually took the decision to pay $10 million to a company called Evil Corp in Russia. So that cost the business $10 million. But what it also cost the business was an FBI investigation because they were seen as negotiating with terrorism. So these are the types of wider ramifications that are almost impossible to quantify, but organizations need to be aware exist when making a decision as to should I budget for these platforms to protect my business or not? Because unfortunately, it's no less valuable than any other business insurance these days. The threat facing your business from a cyber attack is as great, if not greater, than any other risk to your organization.
Very true.
Right on questions, unless I'm not looking in the right place.
Yeah, I haven't seen any question. If anyone has any questions they want to put to anyone on the panel, please drop them into the chat box there. I know Adam done a great job, so look, there's not much that probably needs covering off.
Oh, wow.
I think there's one there, isn't there, from I saw one coming in there a few minutes ago in relation to the locations where does the data get stored by Datto. They're backing up there, the Office 365. We give all our clients the option. Again, some of our clients potentially would want their data stored in Ireland. The main data center that we would use a lot of the time would be based out of Germany. And obviously being based in the EU as well, which would be fundamental as well around certain legislation. But again, it very much depends on the client themselves, and we have various different options of where to store the data.
Perfect. Another question just coming in there is, how long do you retain my data? So there's two options. It's a monthly charge per user. So you don't have to get everyone in the company set up. You can select a few users or a few key users across different channels. So it's a per monthly charge, and it would be either a 1-year time-based retention, so that we would store that data for 1 full year. Obviously, compare that to what's held in Microsoft of being typically 30 days, and that gives you a year to try and find some data that may have been lost. Or you have an infinite cloud, which we would always recommend. There's not a lot of difference in cost, and the infinite data, you're not charged by the gigabyte or the amount of data. It's infinite data for an infinite time. So look, I think that's just kind of really closes any exposure really to losing your data.
And I think that's a very valid point, Mario. A lot of these solutions out there would charge per gigabyte or per terabyte, per data, per amount of data. Datto SaaS Protection doesn't. It's a fixed price per user per month.
Another question there, how long to get it set up and get protected? What are the steps involved? Look, it's quite simple. Pick up the phone to ourselves, to myself or Paul. If we monitor your systems already, it's an add-on that we do, that we have set up. It can be done, set up there within an hour, I would say. Paul, would it take much longer?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's a very quick setup. Syncing then happens over a period of time, but yeah, it's a very quick setup.
And then another question there, what is protected from a Microsoft 365 point of view? So look, it's all your mails. Obviously you don't want to lose an important mail, but it's also then your calendar appointments. So imagine if you lost your calendar appointments, you don't know who your diary is. Obviously they're really important to get back as soon as possible. Obviously everything in SharePoint, that's protected across the company, OneDrive and your teams. Obviously all the collaboration, that's all protected in Datto. So any area there across mail, contacts, calendars, SharePoint, it's all protected for the one charge.
And like it's crucial again that people that we've migrated a lot of clients in over the past year towards obviously they've onboarded Teams and got their internal communication going towards Teams. But file storage, we've migrated a lot to SharePoint file storage, and again making sure that that's backed up is really crucial, and the various different version changes that could go on within the file storage is backed up as well.
Very good. Another question there, do you have similar protection options on critical servers? So another one, Adam, you might be able to cover this off from a high level. It's probably something that we could do a whole new series. And look, Hybrid are planning to do maybe 2 or 3 of these series over the year. So it's possibly something we might consider doing from a critical server point of view. Adam, would you kind of be able to give everyone a high level view of what Datto provide there?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, to my point earlier, you've got 2 levels of protection. You've got backup, which obviously mitigates against data loss and is absolutely critical for all organizations across all platforms, irrespective of where that data resides. But you've also got business continuity. So the systems and platforms that your business relies on day to day to simply run, we need to maintain. We need to ensure that those systems are protected from not just we can get the data within them back, but also we can keep them running minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. So Datto provides a portfolio of what we call business continuity solutions as a technological underpinning to the services that the team at Hybrid provide. So ranging from a terabyte to 100 terabytes, and getting systems after a disaster, be that cyber attack, be that natural disaster, back up and running in hours or even minutes, depending on the severity of the situation. And then obviously, to my point earlier in that hypothetical sort of storytelling talk track, giving you and the team the ability to run in that temporary environment, in that temporary scenario, up until the point that from a lockdown standpoint or from a hardware availability standpoint, that your original systems can be repaired or replaced. So to Mario and Paul's point, I think, if they'll have us back, we'd love to be involved in the next episode of the series, and maybe business continuity for that on-prem data and even the endpoint machines is something that we can include if that's what you'd like to see.
Perfect. Really appreciate that, Adam. Look, I'd just like to thank you all. Look, we're eating into your lunch hour. We're kind of 1:42 now, so we might leave you get a quick cup of tea before you get back to work. Paul, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, folks, look, a big thanks to all the attendees. There's a lot of people on there, so very much appreciate people listening to us for the past 40 odd minutes. Again, look, if you have any questions whatsoever, most of you have even my mobile number, or drop us an email. Again, we're happy to answer anything, and there's no such thing as a stupid question, and we promise we won't go into any technical talk.
Brilliant. Adam, listen, thanks very much for your efforts there today, and all the attendees, please engage with us. If there's anything else you want to see on the next session, or you have any questions, or you'd like to speak to the team, please just contact us.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Mario. Thanks, Adam.
Cheers.
Thanks all.
Thanks.